What's up guys, CJ here, and welcome back to another all-new Hybrid News Now. Sorry for the lack of an HNN yesterday. I definitely try to do these videos daily, and I know I said in the HNN that one was going to be coming out in a couple of hours, but kind of in the intervening hours, as I put out on Twitter, my computer decided then would be a good time to crash, right in the middle of the video file transfer, and when I checked after it rebooted, the file was not on the camera, and it was only half there and corrupted on the computer. So it was just a huge mess, but we're going to talk about two of the same stories as well as some new breaking news for you today. First, we're going to talk about some Wolverine 3 set pictures and what they might mean for the movie. Next, Flash has found a director, and finally, FX has ordered Legion to pilot. But first, let's talk a little surprising news out of the Fox Marvel Universe. 2 days ago, courtesy of JustJared.com, we got our first look at Wolverine 3's set photos, and they actually might reveal a pretty big thing for the movie. Now, unfortunately, we can't show you the set photos because Fox has actually hit us with copyright strikes for the exact same thing before, so be sure to check them out at the link below. But the subject of the photos is a very, very scruffy and suit-wearing Hugh Jackman, who looks a lot like this. Now, that is still Logan, but it's not from Old Man Logan, the comic that the movie was supposedly adapting. Instead, that's a panel from Death of Wolverine. And if you doubt this, feel free to pause the video, go check out the link in the description below. The resemblance is uncanny, and yeah, it could still be a coincidence, but it's almost too close to be in my eyes. Now, them actually adapting this storyline, or using a little Old Man Logan and a little Death of Wolverine, could really help fill in some of the blanks that we don't know about the movie right now. I mean, this literally gives us an entirely new villain that Richard E. Grant could be playing, and that would be Dr. Abraham Cornelius, the founder of the Weapon X program. And honestly, this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but if I had to choose between the two, Death of Wolverine, in my opinion, is the better way to go. And don't get me wrong, Old Man Logan is an incredible book, and I'd love to see an adaptation someday. When you consider the fact that Marvel owns 99% of the characters in the book, would it even be recognizable? Plus, Death of Wolverine, just like it did in the comics, might function better as a closing chapter for the character of Logan, whose story we've seen unfold bit by bit over the last 16 years that the X-Men franchise has been around. But of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and which would you rather see, Old Man Logan or Death of Wolverine? Let's get a good debate going down there. And in our next story, Flash has finally found a replacement director. I say finally, even though it's really been like 2 weeks. Guess who it is? None other than Rick Famuyiwa, who we talked about earlier this week as a potential replacement. So it looks like that maybe following Twitter accounts and getting followed by Jeff Johns is a good sign that you've been talking about directing a DC movie. Now, details are still sparse, but Deadline, who broke this story, says they don't actually have a deal in place yet, but they're working to finish one quickly. And as I said before when we talked about this, I love the pick. Dope was an incredible movie. Famuyiwa is a great director. I think this is honestly like a perfect fit. I mentioned in the video earlier this week that Famuyiwa might have been a good fit for Shazam because Dope was a coming-of-age story, and Shazam probably is going to be at least partly a coming-of-age story, but Flash kind of fits that criteria too. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of this pick, and what does it mean for that movie? I guess it probably means that the rumor that it was going to flip-flop dates with Shazam may be a little untrue, especially now that they've filled Seth Grahame-Smith's shoes pretty quickly. And in our next story, Marvel Television is getting another show up on the board after the cancellation of Agent Carter and the non-order of Most Wanted. That show is Legion, which will be coming to FX next year for an 8-episode run. The show follows David Haller, played by Dan Stevens, who seems like an ordinary mental patient suffering from visions and voices that look like regular schizophrenic hallucinations, but in fact, they're actually real and they tie into his mutant ability. It's going to be loosely adapted from the X-Men character Legion, who in the comics is the mentally ill son of Professor X. Legion has dissociative identity disorder, and each of his personalities manifests a different one of his mutant abilities. So one has telekinesis, one is telepathic, one is pyrokinetic, and many, many more. And honestly, I love this. I think it's a perfect fit in terms of network. I mean, FX has put out some of my favorite shows recently, like Fargo and The Americans. But the interesting thing to me is this technically classifies as a character that Fox owns, and so a lot of the people that are involved in Fox's X-Men franchise are kind of involved in this show, like executive producers Bryan Singer and Simon Kinberg, if those names ring a bell. But there's also a ton of overlap with the folks over at Marvel Television as well, with Jeff Loeb and John Chory also executive producing. So it's good to see that even when you're competing, you can still come together and hopefully make something great. But let me know in the comment section down below, will you be checking out the show? Are you excited? And do you think it's even going to be connected to the X-Men universe in general? Personally, I wouldn't bet on it, but we'll see. And just like that, we're at the end of another HNN. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash that like if you like what you saw. Subscribe for more great content every single day, and consider supporting us on Patreon for access to all sorts of exclusive goodies. Signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you tomorrow.